Wally is just one of those people that is probably the ultimate funeral director, if he can be that, because of his compassion, because of how much he cares. And Wally has told every funeral director and every employee that's become part of this company in the years since Dad's passing about the Lane Way. And when he talks about that, he's talking about all those years before Dad passed away, and our philosophy of dealing with families. You're the one who always says, let me try to explain to these people the Lane Way.
Yeah.
And if anybody can do that, it's Walter.
So only a couple of us know that anymore, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's not. We're definitely the ones that are, what's the saying, long in the tooth. If you had any really good memories or or even a funny experience or anything that really hits home, Wally, over all those years, is there anything that you really think about, that you think of when you think about that 50 plus years?
Well, I think of us as we were kids when you had the house next door and Mama Hallie would make us grilled cheese and macaroni and cheese. Yep. and just the fun we had growing up. It was more like brothers instead of someday I knew he was going to be my boss, but it's been a fun ride. I remember taking you on the date.
Oh yeah.
We won't mention any names.
No names.
But Wally, are we ready to go home yet? Are we ready to go home yet?
Yeah. I never forgave him for that one.
Going in the ambulance in my little Opal when 11 opened.
Yeah.
We were going out to Canfield to get the ambulance, and I think the little Opal was going about 60 miles an hour, and we're just flying as fast as we can. But there's a lot of good memories.
Oh,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Fun times.
And how many cars did you have in those early years? My dad used to laugh because he couldn't keep track of Wally's cars.
Yeah.
Because Wally changed cars like people change their socks. He had a new car about every 4 months. He had something to do. You wrecked a few of them too in there, you know.
It was, my first car was that Hillman station wagon I bought from my wife. Now was her mother, and we had a lot of fun in that little car.
Yeah. And we'd be pinstriping cars in the basement at a funeral. We weren't that busy back then. We weren't that busy, and the funeral home in Austintown wasn't that big. It was small and it had a garage underneath, and we'd hang out down there and wash cars and
lift weights.
Yep. And then Dad would take us to lunch. He would hold. A lot of those years, Dad would sort of hold court at lunchtime, didn't he, Wally?
Yeah, that was our business meeting.
Yep. He'd sit there and he'd bring all the guys, and we'd sit around at some of the restaurants we used to go to, and he'd sit there and he'd make sure somebody got back to the funeral home if there was something going on. But he'd keep us there, and then that's how he basically ran things. Was pretty much over a sandwich and a cup of coffee.
Funeral home was never locked.
No, never locked.
We'd leave to go to lunch. No secretaries back then, and funeral home just sat open.
Yeah. With a sign that said, call this number if you need help.
When your mom and dad used to go away when you were young on trips, Carol and I would stay at the funeral home, and I can remember when I was just a kid here. It was my first time staying at the funeral home, in the old funeral home. Carol and I were upstairs watching TV. It was before we even had children, and the doorbell, someone knocked on the door downstairs. I went downstairs, opened up the door, there was nobody there. And this was Friday night when Mama Hallie movie night, so it's like 11:30 at night. I go back upstairs, the knock on the door comes again. I go down a little bit more softly this time, open the door and there's nobody there, and the lights are all off. So after about the fourth time, I got a butcher knife from Mom and Dad's drawer and walked down there, and there was Lee Chambers.
Oh gosh,
He was just scaring a new kid. But a funeral home is, you shouldn't have fun working in a funeral home, but it's been a lot of fun with the people we've had here through the years, and the family atmosphere that we've had at the funeral home has been great.
And that truly was. And I think that was always one of Dad's big fears. I mean, I know he felt that way even as near when he passed away. His big concern was that he said, he was used to really being hands-on and being with all the families. And as we were getting, more and more families that we'd serve every year, he got really concerned that we'd become sort of just a machine of funeral after funeral after funeral, hurry a family in and out. And that really bothered him because he got nervous when we got busier and bigger. And that's been something that I'm so glad that Wally knew how he felt and I knew how he felt.
I think one of my biggest things as a funeral director has been able to help these families when they're at their lowest time, and you build that relationship, and still building that relationship today after all these years.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, you figure how many families you've dealt with over the years, Wally.
I've got a book on my desk where up until 1992, I had met over 2,800 families.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was 92.
92, yeah.
Yeah, so probably, probably well over 3,000 now for sure. So, wow, yeah, that's a lot. That's a whole lifetime of service.
As time winds down, and my wife keeps telling me, she says, "You're never retired because you like it too much." You know, I just try to ease out a little bit more.
Yeah, just phase out a little bit here and there.
We
Yeah.
enjoy our trips to Florida now in the winter, and it's been a great career.
Yeah. Well, I said it's been appreciated by not just by me and my family, but by everybody that you've dealt with, Walter, and everybody that works with you too. I mean, you know, you're a special guy, and we all really appreciate you and what you do. And like I said, he's not going anywhere completely yet,
Not
right?
yet, not
Okay,
yet.
there we go. So there you go.
You might have to kick me out.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, there we go. There's a little bit of background, a little bit of history, a little bit of information from Walter himself.